finishing up, a lot going on here. I've keep going. This is my 100 scripts. This should be good. 2 months, and have the first 100 of the 1,000 scripts done. And I've gotten stuck definitely on Pathmapper and data trees. So let's take a look at what this script does. I've got it set so you can only see what sections I'm actually choosing to show you. So if I grab this section and take this off, you'll see basically the first section makes a sphere and moves it. Hang on, let me just take off this group. This is always tricky. Has a sphere. I divided the points on that sphere, and I moved it up in a direction of a series. So that is a lot of information within a point system. But before we put the point information on it, that is very controllable data. And if you take a look here, you'll notice there's 490 items, all grouped in 10 settings each, so 10 rows each. And you can do things with that data. And you are now dealing with not objects, you're dealing with lists of lists. And you can tell that by the dashed line. And they entered into that when we first divided the surface off of that sphere. That's the first section of a geometry you want to play with and gather lists of lists. Use your param viewer and do that in any way imaginable. And there you go. You've got a nice system to start. The second section does things to that list, and take a look. This is finding pattern and learning how to join things. It's very slow moving as I kind of creep around here. It's got to change all the data in the numbered system that's in there. But basically, I've used a Pathmapper to make a null index, and I've introduced an interesting three-dimensional tool of grabbing the cubed root of the path index and dividing the indices by that, and finding the floor integer to that information. And what happens is you are able to string together this data in very unique and transformative ways. And if we take a look at this little script, you'll notice it kind of fudges out here because there's certain sections of it that says the degree must be less than the number. That's one issue of control points. But the other thing is insufficient vertices for a curve. And it still seems to run through the document. What ends up generating is you make a section of points. If I can collect all this, you end up making something that if I go in and take a look, I've created a list, and some of these, if I take a param viewer, a panel, take a look into it, you'll notice that the curves are generated. Some are polylines, some are curves, but some are null. And the only thing to do to clean that up, even though the script is kind of jamming up with that happening, you can always put it through a clean tree and remove nulls, which is set to true. I don't have to review any empty ones, and I don't have to and I am removing any invalids. So you've really got a nice system. So I found these in blocks to visualize what's happening. Nice system of understanding numbers and bringing them together. The next section is very simple, that I'm using a variable pipe with a simple script to make some interesting geometries and throw it through a rotation. And it goes through a 90-degree turn, and there's that, and you've generated this form from those points. The last section is playing with a little bit of the index, of pulling out an index number to a series, so I can actually grab a certain amount of points or not, and it's working like a called pattern. That's isolating and grabbing sections, and you can have a lot of control over just using these two nodes, list item and call index. But in doing so, they all relate to one another, and I've been able to divide it into two different geometries so that when I bake it into my form, let's just put it back here, and I thought I had a big form, but I might have got rid of it. I could always take one section and then another, and I can grab more or less of that data by running this series through, starting at different numbers, choosing what I want to do, staggering it. You are dealing with lists of lists, an incredibly powerful tool. I'll leave that one in. It's one of my exciting, cleaned up, simple scripts, going to really the full depths of my imagination when it comes to using Pathmapper and sticking with a very simple script that I learned from Daniel Christev, and that seems to be a way of controlling and keeping things parametric. And I'll just tuck that away in my snippets tool, and that's exactly what I'll do. I'll grab this whole object. I will go into my snippets tool and I'll say, okay, what do we have here? Do we have a Pathmapper section? And I'll call that 002. I think that's my second strip, and I would just quickly pile that one in, and we're done. And now I have full access to that as a sample to change the geometries, to change the point system and line system, to decide what I want to do geometrically and piping with it differently, and then how I call out an index from it and choose what I want to have and what I don't want to have. Wonderful way of thinking of data, all stemming from a simple shape of a sphere. So that shape can transition into this shape very quickly. Nice little script to look at all elements of it. and have a look. It's going to be slow moving because of all the numbered systems. All right, thanks for watching.